What is up, everyone? Don't drop those on the tank. Ah, that was my finger. Now, I have just got back from the fish shop and I had an empty quarantine tank and they had a very cool pair of dwarf cichlids. So, yeah, I didn't have this planned at all. There is no space for them in the house. Luckily, we have an empty tank. So, this is going to be my new dwarf cichlid breeding tank, but rather than a standard breeding tank where you just put a bit of sand and maybe a flower pot, I want to make this one a little bit more aquascapey and exciting. That's the plan anyway. Now when I saw this pair of dwarf cichlids in the shop, I knew that I had to have them. The male is absolutely amazing. And it's one that I've never kept before, so I was quite intrigued to try it. But like I say, I had no plans to do this. So this is a little bit off the cuff and a little bit like, right, let's get something built for them. They're obviously going to spend a little bit of time in quarantine anyway, because I just want to make sure they're okay. They were pre-quarantined at the shop, but it's just better to have them in my water for a little bit of time before I introduce them to a main display. Now, my plan is to make some sort of rocky form with loads of swim space and hiding space in behind the rocks. I want this as a breeding tank, as I've said, but I don't want to do the traditional thing. Obviously, breeding tanks are normally very sterile. They're normally, you want them to be easily cleaned. I want to breed them, I don't know, how would I say it? If they breed, I'm happy. If they don't breed, I'm not so worried, because they're an amazing fish that will go into a display tank probably later on once, I build maybe a bigger Amazonian tank. And that's a little clue as to what they are, because these need to be a soft water fish. So we're going rock, but we are also going to be doing leaf litter, seed pods and things like that to bring that pH down. Now the plan for the hardscape in this tank that you might have seen early on in this video is this massive, well, 2 pieces of Seiryu stone. Now I thought about this last night. That one is going to go there. Oh, gentle. But propped up, so it's sloping. And then this other big bit, is going in this corner. Now normally, and again, I'll prop that one up, I don't want it lying flat on the ground, so sort of that angle. Now normally what I would do is I would backfill the area with sand and gravel and use it to bulk up the back of the tank, so you end up with, well, something a little bit like the minnow tank, where I've got a big bank of sand in the back. With the pair of cichlids going in here, what I want to do is I want to try and prop these up on rocks, still make it secure, but allow them to have loads of swim room in behind and underneath the rocks, get leaf litter and botanicals, so it's almost like, I guess, a little cave system for them is the plan. So if I can have those 2 rocks angled, I think that'll work a treat. Now, one thing I do forget to include in my videos is the tank dimensions. I don't know why I always forget it, but you always remind me in the comments and I always answer your questions as to what size it is. But this is an Oase Scaperline 60. So it's 60 centimetres long, 35 centimetres, 35 centimetres. So it gives a good footprint for these cichlids to, well, get away from each other and have some hiding spaces away from each other. We will also be including some dither fish, so probably some tetras that are going to sort of shoal in the top and give the fish something to catch their attention and something to distract them, because you don't want the male and female constantly bickering and fighting and trying to breed without some distraction. So yeah, this tank being a 75 litre is going to be perfect. And I do love these Oase Scaperline tanks because they come with what's called a white glass. So it's like low green. You get the proper colours through in your fish. You don't get that, like, I don't know, if you've ever looked through cheaper aquarium glass, you get that greeny blue sort of hazy hue to it. And this really doesn't have it. They call it white glass and it is just ultra clear. The other thing I like is it's got beveled corners on it. So all the corners are cut and mitered would be the word I would assume. But they are all cut into like triangles. So it just gives a really clean look. This is actually the same aquarium and cabinet that's downstairs with my gnarly wood, festive cichlid, black phantom tetra. That's an Oase Scaperline too. Actually, I can show you the cabinet on that quickly. So these are the cabinets that you can get with the Scaperline aquariums. Now I always get them in grey because I really like it, but they do come in black and white as well. But they've just thought about loads of different things. So you've got magnets to hang your tools on here, you've got like a hook to hang your net on over there, and then you've got a shelf that your filter sits on, so that when you unplug all of the pipe work and your cables, you just pull this and it comes right out. So it comes all the way out to like maybe here, and then you've got your filter that you can take off of the stand, and just makes life easier. The other thing that I like about these cabinets actually is this weird thing. Now I have put the spare part here to show you guys, but what you do is you take out these side panels like so, and they're all magneted in, and then you can put two smaller ones in, so there's a matching one to go up that end as well. I don't know where my matching one is, but they magnet in so that they're all flush and fixed in, and then you can have your pipework coming out the middle going up to the top of your aquarium there. You don't have to have it sort of going around the back of your aquarium. They've just thought of loads and loads of different things that make life easier with an aquarium cabinet. But yeah, you don't have to buy the Scaperline range with the cabinets if you don't want to. They do come separately. That's how I've got this one sat on what it is now, because I just wanted the aquarium for up here. Would have loved to have the cabinet, but didn't have the space, and I wanted to fit more tanks in, so yeah. Anyway, we've got to crack on with this build because I want to get these rocks in. Now I don't really want these rocks straight onto the glass, so what I'm actually going to do is use a bit of this. This is actually just pond foam. So you can buy big sheets of it. I bought a big sheet ages ago and I just ripped bits off for, well, different purposes. But one of those purposes is to put it under big chunky rocks like this, so that it hopefully doesn't cause too many problems. I say hopefully. I've done this hundreds of times, and as long as you're careful, glass is actually very strong, and as long as you don't go hammering the rocks around, you won't have a problem. But that will just cushion the rock when I lift up that back edge and cause, well, stop it from hitting the glass too much. Now I do have to do the same on this one. The problem is with this one, it's a bit of a triangular shape, and I'm trying to stand it on this front point, which is not the most sensible idea, but it will be fine once it's fully supported at the back. Yeah, see, if I can get a little opening there, pop a rock in this gap here to hold that corner up, and then that will create a little cave for the cichlids to go in and out of. Doing it like this might mean I don't see very much of them, but I think it'll be, well, the most natural and the most sort of, I don't know, happy for them. It will make them feel secure, and you never know, we might get a bit of breeding out of them. Like I say, this isn't an ultimate goal to get breeding, but if we get a little bit of breeding, it's a happy accident. That is exactly what I wanted. You can see all the way under there. Actually, I can, while there's no plants in behind here, I can show you that it's made a huge cave system. We might get something in here as well, maybe, but I might just put some, I don't know, botanicals back there or something, maybe like a seed pod for them to go in. But that's exactly what I wanted. And then they've got like a complete swim through, because that's a hole down there as well. There's gaps in the back, so that will give them a proper secure place to go and hide. Now, round two. Now that should be perfect for the main rock structures. We've got two sets of caves under each one, and we can do a little tap test to make sure that the rocks aren't gonna go anywhere when the fish start swimming around and picking, and when you're doing your maintenance, you know, you don't want to have too many wobbly rocks. Well, you don't want any wobbly rocks in there because, well, it just might fall over and it might cause you grief. So if you can tap it and nothing moves and everything's stable, you're good to go. So let's get some sand in there and we'll see where this scape goes. Now I think to match in with the rock, we're going to use like this light grey sand. I think that'll be quite nice and it'll tie in with the rock. Once we get the leaf litter and we get that sort of yellow staining to the water, this won't look as grey or as white as it does when it first goes in. You might have seen as well, I built a planting pocket. So I just used a couple of rocks as a wall and then backfilled with some sand to essentially create like a little planting area right behind there, and that should hopefully then maybe, I don't know, Amazon sword maybe, some vallis, something tall that will just give that area a bit of a backdrop, and then maybe a bit of planting here. I've got some Cryptocoryne Balansae that would grow up tall. That would look quite nice over there, but I want the filter to be unobstructed because this being a breeding tank, I want there to be no waste in there. I don't want any sort of detritus, so I'm going to try and keep it as clean as possible, and that means keeping that filter unrestricted, so really not covering the front of it. So planting wise, I've actually got some that I've taken out of an old aquarium. Now I can't actually remember what this one was. I'll have to go back and watch one of the videos because I think it was maybe Ozelot green Echinodorus, because it's a spotty sort of leaf. But I've got them, they were growing quite well, but I did have to move and shut down that tank. So yeah, those I think are going to go in the centre and create like a nice bushy Amazon sword area. Then, as I said already, I have got the crinkly leafed crypt, which is Cryptocoryne Balansae. Like I say, it comes up in these really cool crinkly leaves. And if nothing else, I just want to grow a couple of them on for a future project. And then I think we are going to have a little stem plant in here. This one I actually bought for the Gnarlywood aquarium, but I ended up going for the bigger leafed version. This is Hygrophila, Corymbosa, Thailand. So it's a slightly more like dainty leaf version, which I think the festive cichlids downstairs would have probably eaten. And then as backup, if I do want anything to put in between the rocks and hide any of the sort of joins and crevices, I have got some nice Abusophilandra Thaia, which, yeah, that will just literally tuck in between the rocks. Those have got duckweed on, so they need to be washed and sorted, and those roots definitely need a trim. And then all of this needs the pots removing, so that looks like it's going to be the next 20 minutes of work. So with the plants all prepped, the only other thing to do is to put some plant boost tablets in at the roots. Now these are just going to help the plants get their roots settled, get them down into the sand, and I'll be popping them in as I go and plant all these plants in. So yeah, I suppose we better crack on. I do still need to trim the roots on those Echinodorus, but that's fine, I can do that as they go in. I think they're going in the middle. Now that's all the planting done. I don't think we're going to go super crazy, but that will fill the tank up. This Balansae in this side will get big eventually. The Echinodorus, now that it doesn't have a ton of duckweed floating on the surface, it should get some more light and it should be able to grow up. And the same with the Hygrophila in that corner. Bucephalandra that's on the rock won't grow very big, so that will just stick there. But next I do want to put some leaf litter in. So I have got some oak leaves that I've just tipped water all over the floor. I have pre-soaked them and give them a bit of a boil to get rid of that first amount of tannins, and also to make sure there's no pests or nasties that are going to enter the aquarium. So we'll chuck those in. And then I also do have, there they are, a couple of Thelumbo pods. This one I broke in half because I dropped it, and this one's still intact. So I think we're going to put those in there as well, because they will provide a nice little sort of area if they want to get in under something and hide away. And I think that'll be it for botanicals. I don't want to go crazy because I do want to be able to see these fish. As I've already said, they are Amazonian, so they do like leaf litter, or the area they're from is quite heavy in leaf litter from what I've read. But saying that, they're not a normal wild colour strain, which is something I don't normally go for. I've been very muted browns and wild colours recently, and these are completely the opposite direction. So it'll be interesting to see how these look in a sort of semi-black water tank. Now 100% some of these oak leaves will float, I'm sure, but we're leaving this tank empty for a few days, if not a week, while it all sort of cleans up. I might do a water change on it to get rid of any sort of dust and residue, but yeah, if they float, they float. It's not the end of the world. The filter that's actually going in here has been running on another aquarium, so it is fully mature and ready to go as soon as I'm ready. So we'll chuck that in here, and yeah, the tank is pretty much ready and mature, which will be, well, easy and awesome. I think we're going to put the big Thelumbo pod down in here to create a bit more of a cave situation. Oh, actually, that one's a bit big. Yeah, let's actually put one of the half ones down there. That's a better size. There we go. Pop another one over here to give them a bit of hiding space. This big one is huge. This corner. Yeah, nice. So with everything in there, plants, botanicals, sand, everything like that, the only thing left to put in there is water. Obviously, as I've said, we will be getting a filter in there, but that filter is currently mature and alive. So the plan is, once this has settled for a few days, we've put some dechlorinator in, we put some bacterial starter or booster in there. Then the plan will be is to move the filter that's mature alongside all the dither fish. So I have got a little group of rummy noses and I think a little group of emperor tetras that are going to go in here. Irritatingly, all the rainbow emperor tetras are females that are going to be going in here. Essentially, I have a surplus of females, but they'll look really good in here, and maybe we can get a male for them at a later date. Yeah, I think that's it. I think that'll be all the dither fish. So we'll get a little group of them in here, but I want it all to be settled and ready. So the filter can go in, the fish can go in, and then we've just got to wait for the other pair of fish to finish quarantine, and then they can go in here, and they're going to be the cherry on the top. Everything that I need to do to this tank today. It's getting a little bit dark outside and I am ready to go and get some other jobs done down in the garage. A little bit of painting and decorating I think is in order today, so that will keep me busy. But I'll bring you guys and girls back when we're ready to put that mature filter in, and we're also ready to put all those dither fish in here. That should be maybe a few days, something like that. To be honest, all we're waiting for is this to settle down, and I want some of those tannins out of those oak leaves and those Thelumbo pods, just to give that water that little bit of that yellow tint, and then we can get the little fish in here. I've also got an idea to 3D print something for the top of this tank, and I want to see how well it works, because yeah, I think in my mind it'll work, and I've seen people have designed them, so I'm going to go and download some of them and get them on the 3D printer, and yeah, I'll show you that when we come back as well. It has been probably about 5 or 6 days now. The tank has cleared up lovely. We've got that yellow tannin. Yeah, you can roughly see that on the camera. We've got that nice yellow staining, which is what I want for all the fish that are going in here. Now, I have had a small internal filter running in the back corner just to push the water around so it didn't go stagnant. Now the time has come to get the main filter into that back corner. But first, I did mention something about some 3D printed items. And I'm not sure how well they're going to work. I might have to redesign it as the tank evolves in months to come, but we're going to try it on this at least and see how it works. Now, the thing that we have 3D printed are these rings, which look a bit odd at the moment, but they're essentially rings to stop your floating plants either going out of it or into it. So the plan is to glue these together in the back section so that those plants, the Hygrophila and the Echinodorus, can get light, or at least a little bit of light. The crypt I'm not overly bothered by because they normally do okay in lower lighting anyway. So if I can glue these into some sort of, I don't know, setup, something probably, I don't know, maybe like that, and just a spot of glue on each one, and then hopefully that will give enough light down this end for the plants to grow. Now, if I do it along here, I can hopefully use the aquarium as a bit of a straight edge to keep the rings flat. That way, that will be the back of the aquarium there. This will be the side of the aquarium down this end, and I think that should work. Now, it may look a little bit funny at the moment, but I just harvested, oh, this bucket is actually full, oh there it is, look, full of water lettuce that I harvested from the corner tank downstairs with my gouramis and my harlequins in. So we have got a load of floating plants. Now, sometimes you would put them in these rings to stop them growing out. My plan is to put them on the outside of the ring because then these rings will allow light to get through to the plants, or at least that is the plan. Now, I don't know how long these roots are. I think we'll just chuck a bundle in and see how we go. Now, those rings do seem to want to float up that way a little bit. Because the filter's going in that back right-hand corner, I'm hoping the flow will keep those rings in place. If not, we'll just find a little suction cup to keep those in that sort of general area. But I think that works. I think that's looking cool. We've got to get rid of all those little bits of fibrous plant root that has fallen in there now. But hopefully the filter, once we get that in there, which is in the quarantine tank behind you and ready and mature, should do that for me. Now, the filter we're going to be running in this tank is the Oase Bioplus Thermo. Now, like I say, this is a bit grubby because it has been running already in that tank, but I am loving these filters. I've run a few of them around the house now. The one in the barb tank is one of my favourites because, well, it's just so easy to clean. This, actually, I don't know if I can do it here. Yeah, magnets off of the front. So all you need to do is when it's stuck and suction cupped into the back of the aquarium, you can literally grab the front off. You've got access to all your foams, and also it doesn't drop water out the bottom. There's like a series of chambers that stops the water from all rushing out the bottom and chucking all that waste back into your tank. And the bonus of the heater being stuck in the back there. You can see the glassware down there. But we should be able to just chuck this one in the back of the aquarium, suction cup it in, and this is a mature filter. It's been running my quarantine tank now for several weeks. It was in a mature tank before that, so this will pretty much sort this aquarium out straight away. Now we should be able to just get that one plugged in. There we go, and we're ready to rock and roll. The other thing I do like about these filters is if I turn that valve or dial on top, it's actually got a built-in corner spray bar. You have to be careful not to pull this too high up out of the water. Oh, wow, that was close. But yeah, so we've got a built-in spray bar that you can see there all the way around. So that is the one I'm going to be using because I'm hoping that will push these floating plants and those rings into the right area. So now that we've got that mature filter installed, it is time to add our dither fish. Now, I did say that I was going to add some emperor tetras to this, and I just went to get them out of the quarantine tank downstairs, and they are chunky, like chunky. And I'm a bit worried that if these dwarf cichlids do breed, I don't want something that big in there that could possibly eat the young or the eggs. So, in another tank, I do have a really nice group of rummy nose tetras, which have got small mouths. They are fast, but they're a great shoaling fish. So them acting as a dither fish should be quite good because they can outmaneuver and outsmart a sort of, well, a dwarf cichlid, a more aggressive fish quite easily. And then the other fish that I had, that I sort of forgot were living in a blackwater tank downstairs, is I've got some really cool little hockey stick pencil fish that will lurk in amongst this floating plant. And again, just add another different fish to still make this a display and to still make this interesting and natural, but give the dwarf cichlids the best opportunity of getting their youngsters to survive, if we can get them to breed. So we'll do a quick acclimatisation on these. I always acclimatise my fish from tank to tank. I just find it easier and it's a little bit safer. If you want to watch my acclimatisation video and the reason I do what I do, you can go and find that on my channel. But I just find, you know, the pH and the hardness and the mineral content of this tank will be completely different to the quarantine tank downstairs, will be completely different to every tank, because the rocks, the wood, the plants, they all just have an effect on it. So yeah, we'll give them a quick acclimatisation and then we can pop them in, and hopefully then we're on the road to getting that pair of dwarf cichlids in. And I just had a look at them in the quarantine tank and they're like coming up for food, like you put some food in, they're proper like up at the top. So, you know, even though I've only had them a short amount of time, they're already becoming a very characterful fish. We've given these fish about 45 minutes now to acclimatise. Temperatures are the same, pHs are the same. We are ready to get them in now. Just going to angle that light slightly over there, because that will just mean it's a bit more subdued for them when they go in. Now, like I say, we've got a little group, I think of 8 and 6. Now, if I can get them all out of here, we should be ready to go. Square nets and circle buckets aren't always easy. Here we go, so here's the first 2 groups into the tank. I do love those pencil fish. They're not overly bright and colourful, but just their swimming motion and their sort of, I don't know, the different way they look is just really cool. So we're going to give these little rummy noses and these little not penguin tetras at all. What are they? Hockey stick pencil fish, that's what they are. They've got a very similar colour to the pencil, oh my word, to the penguin tetras. They've got that black sort of, yeah, hockey stick, as it were. But we're going to let these settle in for a few days first, because I want them to know the tank, know where everything is, know their bearings around the aquarium before introducing these dwarf cichlids. The dwarf cichlids aren't going to go and like hunt them down or anything nasty. It's just that I want the tetras to be settled first. But yeah, it's looking good. The plants should have grown a little bit more. Everything should have settled, and then we can get this really cool pair of dwarf cichlids. And yeah, they are looking good, to be fair. I'm hoping we can get them to breed. We are back, everyone. I think it's roughly been about 7 to 8 days since I last done an update on this aquarium, and everything's doing well. The rummy noses have all disappeared into the back because I've come and stood next to the tank. The pencil fish are swimming throughout all of the floating plants, which looks amazing, and no one seems to be inhabiting this bottom area, which is going to be perfect for the pair of dwarf cichlids that are living in that bucket. But we do need to get them acclimatised and yeah, get them in here and see how they go. I think it's all looking really good. I was expecting the crypt to melt a little bit more than it has, but it seems to be doing okay. The Echinodorus seems to be sort of starting to stand up and starting to grow. And the Hygrophila is starting to send out some new shoots, which is great. I think they're all taking a bit of time. I've not been feeding this tank heavy with any plant fertilisers, just a little bit every now and again, and probably the majority of that is being taken out by the water lettuce. So we'll give this pair of dwarf cichlids a little bit of time to acclimatise, probably again 35-40 minutes, something like that. Pop some water in there for them, and then we can get them in and see how they go. I think they're going to look really good. So we've just given these fish roughly about 45 minutes now to acclimatise. We've moved some water in. Temperatures seem to be the same, pHs seem to be the same. One thing I didn't actually mention is I have been testing this tank regularly, but I think because of that mature filter and because it was running on a stocked tank essentially, moving it into here means there's been no hiccups. I've been feeding as normal, and yeah, it's been absolutely fine. So we tested all the water before I started acclimatising these to make sure it'd be okay. But the next step, we just got to net them out, and I can't actually, oh, they're sat in the shadow. I couldn't actually see them for a minute there. That was a little bit of a panic, but we're going to net them out, get them in, and I'll probably give them a little bit of time to settle down before I actually film them, because I think it will take a bit of time for them to get their colours fully back, because they do look good when they're fully coloured. Now this pair have come from downstairs in a fully lit quarantine tank, but I'll just slide that light over so it's a little bit duller in one area, just to give them a bit of a chance to settle down. That actually makes it worse for me, because now I can't actually see where they are in the bucket. Nailed it first time. We've got both of them. Here we go. You should be able to see roughly what colour they are as they go in. Oh my word, that male is amazing. Okay, let's give them a bit of time to settle down, and then we'll put the lights over them properly so you guys and girls can see exactly what they are. We have only given the fish probably maybe 15-20 minutes to settle down, because I was watching them. I popped back in a few times, and the female has already taken up residence in this Thelumbo pod right next to me, like literally 2-3 inches away from me. And the male has been exploring, but he has been coming back to there, and they've been shimmying and shaking each other and sizing each other up. So it all looks very positive, to be honest. I'm actually quite shocked that the female has already taken, you know, a home essentially, and has started to show off to the male. The first couple of minutes that they were in here, she was in amongst the plants and so was he. They were a little bit gaspy and a little bit like freaked out by everything, but literally minutes later they were out and about, swimming around, and found a home, which is awesome. So I don't know, maybe very, very soon we will have the first case of breeding these guys in this tank. I've just actually realised I've shown you them and not told you what they are. Or maybe I have already mentioned it in the video. It's very tricky when you're editing weeks and weeks in advance to remember what exactly you have and haven't said. But these are a pair of Apistogramma, which is a small dwarf cichlid from South America, and these are macmasteri gold. So they're a man-made strain essentially, like albino, but not albino because they haven't got the red eyes. They're essentially like a different colour form of the wild variant. And the wild variant is beautiful, but when I saw that male with that like gold and bright red head, I knew that I had to have him, and I knew that I needed to try and have a little setup for them, because he is just fantastic. He's eyeing me up right now. He's sat in the middle of the tank looking at me as if to say, can you get away from that Thelumbo pod, because the female's in there and I want to go and visit. I am super excited to see what happens over the next few days, weeks, months with this pair in here. Obviously I'm going to have to trim the plants back, so I will have to keep an eye on them, because if they've got babies or they've got eggs, I don't want to be messing around with the tank too much, and I will just leave it be. So I will have to keep a close eye on them, and if that female disappears for a few days, and if I see that male patrolling around there, pretty much know what they've what they've done or what's happened. So I'll keep all you guys and girls updated via shorts and reels and posts over on my other social media platforms, so keep an eye out for them. They will be coming as and when these settle in and start to do what they're going to do. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this build. Like I say, it's a breeding tank, but bit of a twist because we didn't just want that sterile breeding tank. It works, it definitely works, and that's how you have to do it if you're looking at making like a living out of it essentially, and you're wanting, you know, big yields of babies to survive. But this way is a lot more natural, and you know, whatever survives survives. If they breed, they breed. If not, they look stunning anyway. So I'll see you all in the next one.